So yeah, we started to think about what if we had a specialized master's. We started with a master's of finance, and now a master's in analytics. We're a lot more horizontal. We don't have any industry specifications, but we want to teach people how to adopt the quantitative skills that you already have. We have people in pure sciences, in econometrics, in finance. You have the skills. You have the raw skills, but we want to accentuate it a little bit, but also teach you the 3 core pillars, and that is business. Why does it matter? Because oftentimes, I think in a lot of coursework, we are a little too focused on trying to derive an answer, trying to build the best model, but don't look back in terms of why does it matter?
Exactly.
Who's going to listen? Who's going to use this, right? A user interface is also really important, and how are people going to utilize these tools? So business is a key thing, and then obviously the statistics, which math has been around for a long time, and we'll continue to do that and make improvements. And then the technology is how do we scale, right? There's always a way to do it on a low-tech perspective, and then move all the way up to different spaces in the high-tech. But there's no right answer. And it all depends on budget. It all depends on skill set. It all depends on how much timelines you have. So we want to kind of teach students how to foresee that. In our admissions, we admit students with the 3 pillars. So I look for business students. I look for computationally intensive quantitative students. So that could be math, sciences, engineering, and then I look for the technology, which essentially is computer science and engineering as well. So those people all come in with these 3 different backgrounds. Typically, just in general, they tend to be concentrated on one. And what we try to do is we try to teach them the others. Yeah. And so we put them in teams, and we get them to work together so that they'll learn from each other. And then we have different courses. So we have a pure stats course, and then we have a pure technology course, and then we have a pure business course.
But they all take all of them?
Yes. Yes. We all take all of them, and then we have a lead topic, but we also try to teach the other sides as well. So I'll give you an example. My class is called Analytics Consulting. It's more categorized as the business course, but I'm evaluating them on their models. I'm looking at the technologies and softwares and integration points that they're suggesting. So it really is a mix, and I think you can't be mutually exclusive anymore. You have to talk about all 3 all the time. And so there's a thing about what value are you driving for the client? That's the business side. As I mentioned, what data points are you going to use? What models are you going to test? And then on the technology side is what infrastructure you're going to use to make this a reality. And so that's what we want to focus on, and that's where we think hopefully there's a specialty that we can develop, and where I think, at least in my experience, is a huge need in the market right now. We have specialists in all these areas.
Yeah.
No issues about finding a specialist in any one of them, but very few people that can actually speak all 3.
Can you just tell a little bit more about this
Sure,
experiential learning?
Yeah, so we dubbed it as experiential learning, and I've luckily had a chance to help build it and cultivate it. And at McGill, there's a lot of interesting experiential learnings that are happening. But what I tried to develop is, because my specialty is in consulting, I said we'll create a class where I'll put them in teams, and again, it's complementary, right?
Yes,
I pick one of each kind of category and put them together. And we solicit projects from the industry. So there'll be an insurance project, we have a healthcare service provider, we also do manufacturing, all sorts of industries, and finance. So we want to have a mix. And I try to give them an opportunity where they can learn an industry where they have no background in.
Oh,
okay. So we typically want somebody with some background so that there's something there, but then also it's a new thing. And what I try to do is I just throw them in the deep end and get them to kind of swim out of it, which it's an 8-month project, 8 to 9 month project. So there's a long time to ingest a lot of those things. And I'm with them all the time. So as a professor, but I try to fade in the background. And they'll go out, they'll do all the work with the clients, they'll own the consulting experience as the consulting group, and I'll be the partner on the deal, for example. And I'll want to collaborate with them to make sure they're on the path. And every time I see them veering, I'll just try to bring them in, but it's them driving it.
Are there still lectures?
There are. I find that I try to do just the minimal lectures because in this space, especially with some things, it's hard to speak in generalities. I feel like as much as I've lectured, I find I just need you to start working on something. Once you start working on something and it's tangible and you have a real data set and you're trying to solve a real problem and there's a client there who's expecting something, I feel that it motivates that. So what I do is I shift a little bit away from the lectures and more in workshops.
Workshops is when they come into university and they discuss with you the
So what I'll
problems.
typically do for the workshop is I'll do it per team. So I've got about 10 to 12 teams now, and I'll have a workshop per team, and we'll spread it out throughout the year so that we make sure that it's very specific to their problem, right? So it's no more general anymore. Now it's a real thing, and you tell me, what are you trying to solve? Why does it matter? What are the data points that you're using? What algorithms do you think could potentially be used as? And we brainstorm, and I do a lot of whiteboarding, and they give them their ideas, and I say, sounds interesting, or I'm not sure about that. Like, give me more, go deeper into that, because I try to tell them, and this is where it's a little difficult, like there's no right or wrong answer, but there is something that people will trust, will believe, seems like it's in the right domain. And that's a bit hard concept, right? Because when you're, especially in most undergraduate programs, it's right, wrong.
Yeah,
right? And
but we don't live in the world
we don't,
anymore.
And anybody who's been out there realizes, like, maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. And you just have to be comfortable with that. And I think that's what we would like to try to instill. I think what we're doing with the experiential is also a big learning for our clients. Working with students, doing consulting projects, for many it's new, and a lot of these technologies are new. So they're seeing things firsthand, sometimes best practices in various industries, and they're also, trying to understand how they can improve. And I think that's a great learning for the industry.